Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Baseball Fam. I am the F for Frank. With me is
I'm the A for
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah, and we got Max for M here.
I
So
do
yeah,
this.
yep, this is just sort of the playoff recap, offseason preview. I'm gonna spend some time talking about the World Series, talking about the Dodgers, and then obviously upcoming free agency, maybe a bit about the WBC, and just kind of see where the conversation takes us. So, without further ado, let's hop right into the first slide here. So, this is just sort of the overview. Like I just said, World Series review, best and worst playoff performances, whether it's teams, players, anything like that. And the big question that's been going around right now, are the Dodgers a dynasty? Debatable in my mind, but we'll see. Then what to expect from the off season, and we also got some free talk there. So without further ado, let's get into the meat and potatoes now. So just thought I'd mention a little bit about some statistics about the World Series 2025. Game 7 over 50 million viewers worldwide. I've heard up to 70. Certain places talking about Yamamoto's dominance, and you can see all the talking points there. So I'll turn the floor over to you guys. Say what you want to say about the World Series. Who wants to start here?
I'll go. I think he pitched 94 pitches in the game 6, and then he goes
Yeah.
out there and closes out in game 7.
Mm,
That's kind of like Chris Sale in 2018, right?
yeah.
Pitched, and then he went and closed it out. He had a great performance. I do think those 50 million viewers worldwide are because how many international players do the
Mm,
the Dodgers have? Otani,
yeah.
Yamamoto, Roki. So a lot of those are definitely because of the Japanese players, and then worldwide too. I mean, it was Toronto
Mm,
in the World Series.
mm,
So like that's an international team. That's
yeah.
the only team not inside the USA. So that does not surprise me. I saw Game 7 was the highest viewered or highest viewed game in a long time. I don't remember the exact
I
number
think it
or year it was or
was
something, but
2017. I think it was since 2017, something like that.
so Dodgers and Astros
Yeah.
when the Astros, were banging on those trash cans. But I do think that kind of does play into the worldwide factor and why the viewership is so high. The three Japanese players at least on the Dodgers, and then it just being Toronto.
Mm,
So all of Canada was watching, and I know all of California was watching because the Dodgers are big out here. So yeah,
yeah. Max, yeah. Have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. I think there were so many people watching the World Series because it was a really good World Series. Every game was really good. I don't know about you guys. I could not stay up for Game 3. I made it to the 12th and I just passed out. I know some
see,
friends of
that's
mine
nice to
just
be on
stayed
the
till
West
4
Coast.
a.m. That's
I was
fine.
la-
Yeah.
I was able to. I think I ended at like 11:45 midnight around.
Yeah, it was like a
Out
two
here.
a.m. job for us here. So I mean,
Yeah. So.
it was pretty
Mhm.
brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried, but no, I think the reason why is because it was such a good World Series. Definitely Yamamoto, well deserved of the MVP. He put on, you said earlier, it was like Chris Sale. It really was kind of like Madison Bumgarner 10 years ago.
Mhm.
The way he just approached the game, the way he pitched was so good. This was definitely the World Series for splitters because you had Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's got a really good splitter. Roki Sasaki's got a good splitter.
Mm. Don't
And
forget about your
um,
Savage. Your Savage has
don't
got
forget
guys
about your
doing too.
Savage,
Yeah,
yeah.
dude.
And
Unreal.
Kevin Gausman.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean,
It was,
Savage. Max and I had the pleasure of seeing him in Portland, Maine, pitching for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats at the time. It's crazy to think like this guy started the season in single A ball. He's come all the way up and he's starting do or die games in the World Series. He's carrying that heavy load, and I for one love to see some of the younger players carry a larger load in important
100%.
games. And if nothing else, it's a good learning experience for him, and I hope he keeps going with what he's doing. I mean, he's a very interesting pitcher. I mean, you see his sort of slider. It's very vertical. It's almost like kind of like a curveball. Then you got the splitter and the fastball. Not too many guys throw it like that, but we sort of touched on Yamamoto and his postseason heroics. comparing it to like 2014 Madison Bumgarner, 2018 Chris Sale coming in and closing out the final game. But I just want to know, do you think that this performance will be seen again? Which is to say, someone who pitches all these innings, all these pitches, and the manager still turns to him when the team needs him the most, right? Or do you think that's sort of a dying art?
See, I think it's a mixture, right? I've seen a lot of teams go to like a bullpen game, right?
Mm.
Um, there's all these analytics out there about pitch counts and all this stuff. I go, look, if you have a guy like Yamamoto, Otani, Clayton Kershaw, Scooble, Garrett, a Crochet-esque type of guy,
Mm.
I'm going to rely on them every single game to go out there and pitch, whether it be 1 inning, 3 innings, or 9, right? Because I'm paying them millions of dollars to go out there and perform and win games.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
it's sort of
right?
frustrating to me
Mm-hmm.
because you have all these things during the regular season, like bullpen games and taking
Mm-hmm.
your ace starter out in the fifth inning, like we saw with Tampa Bay a few years ago, right? And we saw that
Blake
a little
Snell.
bit this year
Mm-hmm.
too. But it's at the end of the day, if you're not paying them for this situation, what are you paying them for, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And there's a time and a place for load management. And I know Max, you wanna chime in with this probably, but as someone who's a long-suffering Phillies fan, I'm sure you've seen your fair share of bullpen implosions. So I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I was going to bring it up, but you brought it
I
up,
was
so
gonna bring
now
it up.
I
That's
have
this
to.
is good
Of
banter
course,
right
you're going
here.
to bring it up, instigating. But no, I mean, not to go with too much into the Philly stuff, but I'd rather trust a guy like Zach Wheeler going
Mm-hmm.
into the eighth inning who has 110 pitches than going to a guy like Orion Kerkering or
Or
Matt
Jeff Hoffman.
Strom or Jeff Hoffman.
Yeah.
We'll get to him in a second, but I'd rather trust that in this situation. As I said it, I mean, as Alex said, I think it depends sometimes on the situation. Sometimes analytics do give you some heads up and some good stuff, but at the end of the day, when a guy is dealing, especially as good as Scooble, I think it even as good as when the Miz and the Brewers when he was dealing back in the summer. I'd rather go to him than go to some guy in the bullpen who is a little shaky when it comes to, let's say, because you can go to the bullpen and say, okay, this guy has a better ground ball percentage of hitting the ball on the ground as opposed to,
Yeah.
Zach or those Aaron Nola who
Well,
hits the ball in the
well,
air. But Aaron Nola
Max.
in the
Yeah.
playoffs are really good. I trust the starter in that
Max,
situation.
you
Mm-hmm.
you and I were at a late Halloween party watching Game Seven, right? And
Yeah.
I vividly remember saying to is like, I know Hoffman's your closer, but he's just not the guy you go to in this situation. And
Mm-hmm.
lo and behold, some of these guys, some of these managers, I think they have a very hard line idea of like this situation is this pitcher no matter what. And I mean, you have the opposite of that situation. If you remember 2013, I think it was, where the Orioles went to Ubaldo Jimenez instead of Zach Britton,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they end up losing that game. But I just think playoffs are a fluid situation. You can't have a seventh, eighth, ninth inning guy in any given situation. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see more of like this guy's my best pitcher. I'm gonna throw him in the best situations, but yeah, we'll see where the tide takes us there. But big question here: do you think the Dodgers won the series, or did the Blue Jays lose? Now, obviously, that sounds like a little bit of a crazy question, but I think you guys know what I mean in the spirit of the question,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Alex, what
I
do you
mean,
think?
I have an interesting take because for me, the Blue Jays are only favored in one game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in my opinion, I did not expect it to go to 7 games.
Right.
I do, however, believe the Blue Jays lost game 7, but it was definitely a better series than I anticipated.
Right.
So for us to say the Blue Jays lost, I don't think so,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Dodgers won. They're the best team in baseball, right?
Yeah.
On paper, in payroll, and every other, like if you look at everything, the Dodgers are probably top 3 at least in every category, right? So the Blue Jays didn't lose. I think they shocked a lot of people. I wasn't expecting them to even make it to the World Series in the AL. And then when they did, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a 4 or 5 game series. And then to go to 7 and then to have a lead, they definitely lost like game 7. That Miguel Rojas homer was a bloop homer, like line drive. Like I did not think it was a home run at all. So they definitely lost game 7 for sure. But for them to just make the World Series for the first time, 32 years or something, like incredible. To go up against the Dodgers and go head to head with them every at bat, every pitch against Otani, Yamamoto, Freddie Freeman, Clayton Kershaw, Mookie Betts, like the best of the best is incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
for me personally, I was fully prepared for this to be a 5 game series after Game 3.
mhm.
But
Yeah, same.
yeah, I mean, they did a great job of winning when it counted, especially games 4 and 5. So hats off to them, especially as someone who's lived in Canada for 5+ years myself. So I definitely had a soft spot from them there. But Max, what are your thoughts on that question there?
I definitely think the Dodgers won that series. Overall, they were just the better team, not just on paper, but I think skill wise, they had, I think, better pitching, they had better hitting, they had better, everything. But I will say the Blue Jays put up one hell of a fight, not just in the World Series, in the ALCS. The Mariners did Blue Jays in the ALCS in the sense that they were up in Game 7. George Springer hits that walk off. What was it? 2-run, 3-1 home run,
Incredible.
and
Incredible.
so yeah, I mean, it's just it stinks. I wanted the Blue Jays to win. Not that I hate the Dodgers necessarily, but because I thought that it would be cool to have the Blue Jays win it after 30 years. That's just me. But credit to the Dodgers, they were just the better team. We talked about Yamamoto. We talked about Shohei put on an incredible series. I thought there were some moments where Teoscar Hernandez, who I don't think is talked enough because he's on the Dodgers, is overshadowed by some of the great players, but he put on a great performance as well. So I definitely think the Dodgers, were the more deserving team to win. At the same time, I feel more badly for the Blue Jays than I do the Dodgers winning the World Series, especially Game 6. I was on the edge of my seat, and then Addison Barger decides to have poor fundamental base running, and just decides to go on
I mean,
contact
that's
when
me
Kike
playing
is
devil's
barely going to
advocate
catch the
here.
ball.
Yeah, that's me playing devil's advocate here. Because if we're gonna say anything about, obviously the Dodgers, talent-wise, 100% deserving to win this, right?
Mhm.
What I think of when I think of, and I'm not saying I think that the Blue Jays lost the World Series, but when I think of how many of the Dodgers hitters were just not in gear. Betts, Freeman, Otani to a certain degree. After Game 3, he had an abysmal stat line. Teoscar Hernandez, even Kike Hernandez, all these guys just weren't their usual playoff self. And
Mhm.
you think about how many times they had the opportunity to win. Bases loaded, second and third. You talk about Isaiah kind of Falefa's lead in Game 7, right? I mean, that's been a massive talking point, and just there's a time and a place to be conservative, but you're not getting back picked at third in Game 7 of the World Series, right? Yamamoto throws that ball away, you win the game. They're not chancing that. You take a bigger lead there, and that's you want to talk about a game of inches. This was it, right? Literally seeing Will Smith's foot come up and then come back down on that forced play at home. I mean, it's a game of inches, and they threw away yards. If you ask me,
Mhm.
right? Like they had so many chances and they just couldn't convert. But it was a great World Series, and honestly, I'm not even too mad that the Dodgers won, which is unusual for me because other than the Yankees, they're the team I hate the most. But
Mhm.
honest,
I agree with
yeah,
that. I
no,
agree with
but
that.
but honestly though, it's like just because of how great that World Series is, I can't be too mad. But moving on, talk about a few guys here: Ernie Clement, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Are these three of the best playoff performances as a whole that we have seen, at least in this century? Ernie Clement, of course,
Well,
setting the postseason record for most hits. Seeing Guerrero's statistics, leading the postseason in pretty much every meaningful offensive category, and then of course Yamamoto speaks for itself. So, what do you say about that, Alex?
I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr., right? He's, in my opinion, top 10 player in baseball. So I expect him to go out there and perform.
Mm.
Yamamoto, be the same thing. For me, the most shocking one was Ernie, right? I honestly didn't know too much about him until now,
Yeah.
right? Like he was kind of like, who the heck is this guy? And he went off. Like it was insane. So I think for me, he had the best one, but that's because the expectations of him were lower, right? I expect Guerrero Jr. to go out there perform every single day. Same thing with a guy as a Yoshi, same thing. I expect him to go out there and perform. But a guy like Ernie Clement to do what he did and step up in the biggest series of his lifetime so far, that is the best one
That's
in my
baseball,
opinion.
though. That's
Mhm.
why we love it, right?
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
Exactly. Max, what do you
Mhm.
say?
Definitely agree about Ernie Clement. No one really expected, him to perform like that. And credit to him, he pulled up in the big moment. Vlad Guerrero Jr. I mean, yeah, you would expect it, but I think a lot of us weren't expecting him to be on the Blue Jays, past the trade deadline because back in spring training and in the beginning of the season, there was a lot of I wouldn't say drama, but a lot of serious, I think, debate in terms of what he's worth on the Blue Jays.
Sure.
The Blue Jays at the time didn't want to pay that big contract. Then they looked at the free agent market that's coming up, and they're like, "Oh, we've been burned in the past with some of these free agents, like Shohei, like some of the other, like I'm sure they made a bid for Yamamoto a couple years ago when he was on the market. They couldn't get him. So I think they realized that Vlad Guerrero is their franchise player. This series proved that he is their franchise player. So that's when they made that, what was it, $500, $600 million deal with
Yeah,
him
it
in
was
the
500
offseason for
plus
3 years.
13 years,
I think
something like that.
550,
Yeah,
550, 560 something,
Yeah.
I think.
I'm pretty sure this is
exactly.
it was pretty sure it was 13 years though.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Vlad's leadership was also good too. I don't think that wasn't talked enough. I think in Game 6 and Game 7, when some of the more younger guys were nervous, there was a moment I think when I think Fox Sports asked him before the game, like, "Hey, so how do you approach it? You're essentially sort of the team captain in a way. How do you approach this?" The younger guys who've never been in this moment before, and anytime that Vlad Guerrero was on base and like someone like an Ernie Clement or an Addison Barger were nervous, I'm sure you guys saw the clip where Vlad Guerrero just looked at him. He's like, breathe, just take a deep breath. I thought he showed incredible leadership in the World Series. We talked about Yamamoto. I think he did good. I think, we talked about it earlier. I thought Trey Savage, me personally, I thought he had such a great World Series. That game when was it Game 4? I think it was Game 5 when he pitched 6 and a third innings, struck out
Mhm.
12 batters, made Shohei look
Yeah,
like a
just
fool out there. Just an
one of the
incredible,
most dominant
iconic moment.
performances I think I've seen in the World Series.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So
yeah.
credit to Savage, but I do think I think for me it's Vlad Guerrero. That's the most obvious pick, but I think just the way that he approached it,
Yeah.
especially how his mind was at the beginning of the year, and how his mind was ending it. Because baseball at the end of the game, it's not just a game of skill; it's a game of fundamentals and the mental capacity to perform in these clutch moments. And he clearly was the star of the show.
I mean, Ernie Clement could have been up there with Joe Carter by the end of this. He's the one that hit that ball that Andy Pages caught over Kike Hernandez, right? So,
That was tough.
I
yeah.
thought it was over at that point too. When I
I
saw
I
them
mean,
crash together, I was like, "Oh, it's over." And then,
that would have been a great way, a walk-off victory, Game 7. I mean, I think that's probably the only way that this could have gone better as a World
Mhm.
Series, to be honest. But
Mhm.
one thing I just wanted to mention quickly, I mean, Clayton Kershaw with his retirement going out on top as a champion here. What do we think about that? I mean, Clayton Kershaw, what a legendary career. Even I think he pitched like an inning, something like that, in relief.
Mhm.
But I mean, end of an era. What are we saying about Kershaw here?
For me, I don't know if you've seen that picture or that clip where Randy Johnson and Greg Maddox were supposed to go and pitch, and they got scratched
Yep.
for Max
Yeah,
Scherzer and
I know which
Clayton
one you're talking
Kershaw.
about. Oh yeah.
Like, I'd be pissed off. Like, Randy Johnson and Greg Maddox are Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
generational talents. To be scratched for Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw at the time, I'd be like, what the heck? Like,
Yeah.
and then to see what both of them have gone and accomplished is, it's kind of, it's very ironic that they got scratched, like, for them too. Clayton Kershaw, he's good for baseball. He is a Dodger that I can go out there and respect. Uh, but yeah, definitely end of an era. It's kind of sad that our childhood players are slowly retiring more and
Yeah.
more, and makes me feel old.
I mean,
Uh,
who do we have left at this point? Right, we got McCutcheon, we got Kershaw, we got Scherzer. I mean, who else really is
Honestly,
there?
McCutcheon
Verlander.
and Scherzer are like the only two left
Verlander's the
from
only
like
one
childhood.
too. I mean, Kershaw's gonna be gone, so we got old man Scherzer and Verlander
Verlander,
basically.
Verlander,
Yeah, that's about it.
yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Max, what do you think about that?
Yeah, Kershaw, one of the best pitchers of our lifetimes. Clearly, just the way that he performed day in day out. I thought his last opening, excuse me, what was it like home start of the regular season?
Hmm.
I definitely tuned into that. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little misty-eyed watching it because I had so many memories. Back in 2010, 2011,
Mm-hmm.
when he was just so dominant, when he won those back-to-back Cy Youngs and won the MVP. So it's good that he ended on a high note. It's kind of like how John Elway went out and how Peyton Manning went out at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think perfect time to retire for Clayton Kershaw. I'm looking forward to hopefully him getting like 100% or something in the Hall of Fame. He's probably
That
not
won't happen.
going
If
to.
Mariano Rivera or Ichiro didn't get 100, I don't
Yeah,
love
Yeah,
it.
they
but
should in my opinion because I
Kershaw,
think he's one of the
Scherzer, both.
best left-handed
Yeah,
pitchers in our generation.
Kershaw, Scherzer, Verlander, all three gonna be first ballot Hall of Famers. I'm tempted just to tell Verlander and Scherzer to hang them up now, just so they can all be on the ballot together. But I think we all know that's not going to happen for those two. But
I think doesn't Scherzer have another year left on the contract anyway, or is he a free agent
no,
now?
I think he's a free agent, but he said that he wanted to pitch next year. Um,
Oh, okay.
and Verlander's the same, I believe. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Verlander was terrible for this year anyway. So
I mean, uh, last thing regarding the World Series, do you guys have a favorite moment that you wanna highlight, or anything like that? I know for
for
me, my
me,
favorite moment was the Andy Pages catch. I think pretty much everybody in the world thought that that was going to get down off the wall, something like that. And for
I did.
he was a defensive replacement at the beginning of the inning too. He came in for Tommy Edman,
Mm-hmm.
and for him to make a play that big, covering that much ground and dunking all over Kike Hernandez in the process, I think that might not be remembered vividly by a lot of people in 10 years, but I'm gonna remember that one.
I'd say the 18 inning game.
Yeah, definitely.
I just love extra innings. And I think it's Brad Paisley. I sing the national anthem in like 4 World Series games that have all gone extra innings.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's very ironic as well. But for me, yeah, I just love how I don't know how you guys feel about the extra innings rule with the guy on second to start the inning. I love that they don't do it in
I
the
agree.
playoff.
Yeah. In
I
the
love
regular
it.
season, it's fine, but postseason, it should be the way it's always been.
I agree. And I think that it's kind of like that old school, like baseball, when you have a game that's 18 innings long. There's none of the new rules, so it's this old school like like baseball. It's your best versus my best, going at it. And
Hmm.
I think the game lasted like 6 hours, 54 minutes or something. And
Yeah. I
so
mean,
yeah, and
talk about free baseball. You got a whole other game. Got
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So and it's funny too because the Dodgers have played in both 18
Hmm.
innings and 18 innings, 18 in 2018 and 18 now.
Yeah.
So
And of course, that'd be Freddie
so
Freeman with the winner.
yeah, I mean, if you go back to last World Series too, he had that clutch like grand slam, and then he walked it off in the 18th inning. So, you know, I just love postseason baseball in general.
Hmm.
I tune in every game no matter what. It's hard to watch 162 games just because I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. I'm out here in California, time difference and all that. But yeah, the 18 inning game, just super fun and all that. So yeah, let's go Sox, baby.
What about you, Max? Do you have a favorite moment?
Yeah, we mentioned it when that play at home plate that
Yeah.
was so heavily scrutinized in review. I think that's going to haunt the Blue Jays because I think that was probably one of their best, if not their best shot at winning the World Series.
Mhm.
Smart play, obviously, by Will Smith, who's one of the best catchers in the game, knowing when to where to put his foot at the moment. But I think just how, if only you had that extra lead, we'd be
I
having a
don't
different
know.
conversation.
I don't know why he did it, especially when he's been in the league for a long time too.
Yeah,
I
Well,
guess
it's
it's just one of those
tricky.
things where it's like I can't get picked off Game 7 of the World Series, but nobody's gonna try to pick you off, right? Like
No, with bases loaded,
Max
no
Muncy's
one is
like
trying to pick
five,
off.
6 feet off the bag to begin with. You can at least be that far off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Which is crazy to me because the Blue Jays have been a very smart baseball team this year, right up with the Brewers, just in terms of the fundamentals, just playing the game right. The Dodgers, they do play the game right, but it helps when they have a payroll of like, what, $500 million essentially at this point.
sure.
The Blue Jays are, they still have a lot of money, but
Mhm.
some of their players obviously aren't as well known as some of the Dodgers players. But the fact that they're able to play good fundamental baseball in that moment just shows that it really was the Dodgers series to win
We'll
because
see
the
them again.
Dodgers.
I'm confident of that.
Oh, the Blue Jays?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
Oh,
I
yeah.
hope so.
Might
I
have to
don't
get into
know.
some debate about that later, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah,
All
we'll
right,
see.
we'll move on for now though. Let's talk about the 2025 playoffs. I just put a few uh, talking points there, but you're obviously able to put a few in there. But Max, I'm sure you've seen the second bullet point in the worst column there, and I'm sure you'd agree with that. But yeah, I mean, feel free to pick on any of those points you want, guys. I'll concede the floor probably to Max here. He has a few things to say about the Phillies if I had to guess. Go ahead, Max.
Oh God. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. I wasn't shocked at all that this happened. I was not shocked. I knew going into it that this was going to be a 2024 type run again. Um, because we just didn't change anything from 2020 from 24 to 25. We had a worse bullpen. Joy Romano, he wasn't there, thank God, in the postseason, but he had the worst year I've ever seen of anybody. But
How that
it
guy
was
gets
tough with the
42 and
Phillies.
2/3 innings in the regular season, I will never understand. But
I will never understand either, but it's infuriating. I mean, I knew it was going to be tough with losing Zach Wheeler for the year. You knew it was going to be tough, but I thought Sanchez stepped up. I thought Ranger Suarez pitched well. I thought Aaron Nola pitched well, even in the postseason by the end. So it's exactly what happened in 24. Great starting pitching. Our bullpen still not good. Dombrowski's not making the smartest decisions when he makes the Phillies bullpen. I think Rob Thompson's not making smart decisions when he makes some of these calls to the bullpen, especially putting Matt Strom in that situation. In the eighth inning when we were up 5-2 against the Dodgers, and then I think it was Teoscar that hit that opposite field home run. So I knew by that point it was over, but I was still very frustrated because it's the same thing. It's the definition of insanity to keep doing something and trying to work it out. It worked for you guys in 2018 with Dave Dombrowski. It's not working for us right now. We are essentially the 2012 Detroit Tigers, and now it's going to be 10 years of not doing good. But anyways, that's the end of my Phillies. Right? I will say, I don't blame Orion Kerkering that much. He's a young guy who didn't know what he was doing. But in that moment when I saw that, I wasn't pissed. I wasn't sad. I was just disappointed. I was just very disappointed, and I'm still in that state right now.
yeah, I mean, Alex, do you want to talk about the Red Sox brief playoff stint, or do you think that doesn't even worth being mentioned at this point?
You know, this is the longest time of my life where I haven't seen a Red Sox like World Series.
Mm.
There were 7 when I won it in 04, right? Then they won it 3 years later. Then they went 6 years, and then it was 5 years, and now it's been what, 7 years? So, for them to like even make the playoffs since what was it, 2021, for me was definitely an improvement. It sucks they lost to that pinstripe team up in New York. For me, that's what pissed me off more was who they lost to. I didn't expect them to go to the World Series, and frankly, there was a little bit of time in there where I was like, we're not even making the damn playoffs. So for me, like it's improvement and got the younger guys some playoff experience.
Yeah.
But I will say, when I saw best and worst of the playoffs, the first team that popped in my head was the Milwaukee Brewers. To not even win a single
Well,
game and get swept in the
I
NLCS is
specified
good.
the NLCS Brewers because they were quite
Yes.
good against the Cubs.
Mm-hmm. To just not win a game when you're the number 1 seed
Mm.
is just embarrassing. And for what they accomplished and achieved,
Yeah.
In the regular season, and then just
The worst batting
worse.
average in postseason
It was
history for a series.
terrible. Like I remember watching that series, going like, they don't want to win, like at all. Like
Ernie Clement
there's
by like
no
game
fight.
4 had more hits than they had that entire series. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it was terrible. And then the best, it's cool the Mariners won, and it's cool they won their first home playoff game since 2001. like that was cool. I was kind of rooting for them to make the World Series.
Mm.
I definitely think the World Series would have been a sweep if the Mariners did
Yeah,
win, though.
that yeah, I agree.
Um, but I was rooting for the Mariners. They're probably once the Red Sox got eliminated, that was
Mm.
probably the team I was
Yeah,
rooting for in the AL. So,
yeah.
um, hmm,
I'll pick up on the Cincinnati Reds really quick. I added them just for my boy Tito, Terry Francona, of course, legendary Red Sox manager, right? But
hmm,
I think it's a big step for them as a club to even make the playoffs at this point. I mean, they got absolutely drummed out by the Dodgers. Let's make no mistake about that. But I
we
think,
expected that though.
yeah, no, I think we expected that. But just to look at where they came from, I think last year people were a little bit bullish on them, but they sort of regressed in people's minds. I think coming into this year,
Hmm.
they had to claw their way into a playoff spot this year through, I'm sure, almost the sheer will of Francona and company. But
Hmm.
you know, a team that young, Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green, Ellie De La Cruz, of course. You have this guy Sal Stewart as well. That's coming up. He's looking really good. But yeah, I think it's important to see teams like the Reds make the playoffs and then try to build on that. So what they do this offseason will be very important. I hope they spend some money. But I just want to give a little head nod to them and say good for you, Reds, for making the
I
playoffs.
agree. I agree with
Last
that.
one up on there, San Diego Padres. I think we can't look at that as anything but a huge letdown for the expectations they had coming in. So I don't know if you guys want to talk
I
about that.
I
Yeah.
think the Padres are like the San Francisco 49ers of the MLB.
Mm,
So much expectations, and they always come up short.
yeah. But yeah, Max, do you have something more to add to that?
Yeah, definitely disappointing, but I think this has kind of always been the Padres' MO. They've always had big expectations for the past 4 years. I mean, I think even 5 years when, Fernando Tatis first, joined the scene back in the COVID season in 2020. It's been 5 years. They almost made it in 22. I wonder who beat them in 22. That's nothing. But no, but it's disappointing. It's kind of crazy that, just a week later, their manager, what was his name?
Mike
I forget.
Like
Shilton?
split or something. Like
Shilton?
Yeah, I almost said
Shilton.
Shilton.
Mike Schmidt for some reason because it sounds the same. But no, I was kind of surprised that he stepped down. I think it's kind of been downhill a bit, almost for the Padres since they had a prior owner, and now it's new ownership, so definitely new mentality. It's kind of disappointing because you know I know that Boston Red Sox fans aren't the fondest of Manny Machado, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to see him win a ring.
Hell no.
No,
That guy.
Heck no.
He ruined my
no.
goat, Dustin Pedroia.
I've never.
It's on
Okay,
site for him.
it's
Yeah,
A Rod and him are neck and neck for my like most hated
Yeah.
baseball players of all time.
Honestly, at this point,
yeah.
100%.
And A Rod's a great like
Also,
commentator or killer,
Tyler
whatever.
Austin for being a bitch and getting his ass handed to him by Joe
Oh,
Kelly. So
That
I
was
even though
awesome
he got
though.
his ass whooped, I still hate him because he just was a bitch that entire series.
yeah.
But
A
But
Rod's up there. Me personally,
anytime,
I hate
anytime
Kendall.
yeah,
someone mentions Machado, I just go off. I'm like,
Uh,
stop talking,
All
shut
right.
up.
Well, he who must not be named. I don't
Oh.
mind him too
Mhm.
much, but no, I think just the way that the Padres. I mean, they were fun all season. I mean, the way that
yeah.
the start of the year, even the end of the year, was not even a given that the Dodgers would win the division. Looks like the Padres were just neck and neck with them, but the way that it ended with them just proved that the Padres just. Like the Phillies, they're fun to watch in the summer, but as soon as October
I
rolls
mean,
around, they don't want to be there
my
anymore.
my brain's still in 2015 with the Royals, right? Like I looked at the Padres and I said they have the best bullpen. They're gonna make a good run here, right? Bullpen wins championships, even though we saw in the World Series that nobody really trusted their bullpen. And like the one situation that the Blue Jays did, they lost, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, they had a great contact rate throughout the season. They had a great bullpen. I thought that would be the recipe, but they just nothing but disappointment there. But
What do you think they need to add in the playoffs or in the sorry? What do you think they need to add in the off season to be the team to
they
beat Dodgers
need
and actually
a
win?
bona fide ace, probably. I mean, what? There are barely any teams that don't, right? But Cease did not pitch up to his usual caliber this year. Yu Darvish, as we found out recently, is going to be shut down for the upcoming year. Even
Mhm.
though I don't think we really thought he was all that great this year.
No.
But I mean, Robert Suarez is also a free agent this year, lest we forget.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they still have Mason Miller for a long time. They still have Jeremiah Estrada, who's some guy,
Mhm.
a guy that I really hope the Red Sox try to acquire in maybe some potential Jaron Duran trade this year. But not as the only piece before you say anything, Alex. But um, yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what happens this offseason. But we'll get to that very soon here. But we'll go with a very simple question here. Are the Los Angeles Dodgers a certified bona fide dynasty at this point in time? We're talking about making the playoffs 13 years running, something like that. Not only that, but winning the NL West, I think like 11 out of those 13 years. I think they've won it how many times straight? Eight, 9 times straight, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Not to mention the two World Series. One of them is a bit Mickey Mouse, but still counts the same, right? But yeah, I mean, what would be your thoughts on someone saying that they're a dynasty at this point? Max, we'll start with you.
I can see it. I can see it. I mean, just the way that they've conducted themselves the last few years in the playoffs, I can see it. They're definitely a bona fide team. It's sort of like, in the sense, kind of like a Kansas City Chiefs or even the Astros, I think, because even when the Astros haven't been, that great, like I would argue in 23, for example, even after winning the World Series and keep making the ALCS and making the World Series. Um, just the way that they've been performing themselves right now, it's kind of like the Yankees in 99, 2000. May not be, the greatest winning, may not win the division every time, but as soon as they make the playoffs, they're in the World Series. So I can see that.
I, you know, when I think of a dynasty, right, I think of winning a championship, World Series, NBA title,
Mhm.
whatever. But I think people have to give some credit to being in the playoffs and being a team that goes deep into the playoffs every single year as well, right? They're the team that you do not want to face when all the chips are down. And by that criteria, I would say they're a dynasty. If we're talking about purely based on World Series wins, though, I'm not quite there yet. I think they got to win one more. We're talking about the Yankees of the 20s, 60s, 90s. Talking about the Cardinals of the 40s ish, that sort of era, 30s, 40s. You're talking about the Earl Weaver Orioles. Talking about those are the teams that I sort of look at as the bar for what is and isn't a dynasty, and I'm just not quite ready to say that they're on par with those teams just yet. But Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, my dog was barking, so I had to go yell at him. But I hate to break it to you, I think they are a dynasty, right? When you know our future kids ask about who was like the best baseball team, in the 2020s, we're gonna have to say them,
Yeah,
right? Um, there's really no other team I think in the past maybe 10 years that has been as dominant as them over the past like 10 years.
mm-hmm.
And for me, 10 years is kind of what makes a dynasty.
Yeah,
Uh, there's really, I guess, I don't know what the actual time frame is to actually say it, but I do believe it is
yeah,
like a 10-year mark, right? So for them to win the NL West, what is it, 13 of the 15 years? Incredible. To make the playoffs that many times as well is hard,
yeah.
right? Baseball, like, there's so many things that could like go wrong. Injuries, it's 162 games. Like, that is what, 6 months? Like, we start March and it just ended. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, six,
I
seven
mean,
months, right?
this is the other thing though. It's like this is a Dodgers team that is built for October as well, right? And they have had these injuries to deal with, and they have had these times where they've had to rely on people that maybe aren't the bona fide superstars that they thought they would. I mean, fucking Will Klein got a 4 inning win in Game 3, right? Like, it's not just that they sign big free agents and that's the recipe, right? They have homegrown guys like Will Smith and Clayton Kershaw, if you want to
Mhm.
go all the way back and say he's homegrown, right? But yeah, I mean, it's just an impressively run organization, and I mean, there's some ways I could say that they're dynasty, some ways that maybe I can't see it quite yet, but
I
only
mean, in the
time,
past,
yeah,
if you go back to the 10 years, I mean, they made it in 2017 and lost, but that
mm,
the gray area because of the Astros scandal.
2018 and lost.
2018 lost, right? So in the past, what is that? 8 years, they're 3-2 in World Series.
Yeah,
Just to make it 5 times in that time frame too is impressive.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
so
for sure.
mhm.
Anyway, I thought that'd be an interesting discussion there, but let's move on to, for the love of God, please, a less Dodger centric conversation. Um, that being said, we are talking about Japanese stars, so I mean, gonna have to mention the Dodgers at some point. But a few talking points here. This upcoming offseason, what potential effect will a a possible lockout in 2027 have on this free agent class and team spending? Three Japanese players I want to talk about: Kasuma Okamoto, Munetaka Murakami, and Tatsuya Imai. Three great players all coming over. Three of them all with very different profiles, and I can get into what I know about them later. Uh, the sort of weak free agent class we have in general, who we think the buyers and sellers will be, and at the end of the day, Alex and I are both Red Sox fans. Max, you're a Phillies fan. We'll talk about who we want our teams to sign the most. And I guess I'll just say acquire if you want to include trades and all that as well. So lockout. I mean, that's the elephant in the room right now. We have the MLBPA saying we want a salary floor. You got the owners saying we want a salary cap. Both sides seem to not want to agree with the other's point of view. I mean, we have loads of TV networks sort of going under that are being acquired by both the MLB and sort of other outside networks like FanDuel, all that. And we have Manfred also saying that he wants to nationalize the broadcasting rights, which would be great for the consumer, great for the fans, but you have teams like the Yankees with the Yes Network, you have the Red Sox with Nesson, you have the Dodgers with their TV channel. I can't quite remember, but there's plenty of teams that bring in tons and tons of money through their television rights.
Mhm.
And how do they bridge the gap between those amounts of money? That's a big question. So, what are you guys' thoughts? You think it will affect the offseason, and what are your overall thoughts on the possibility?
For me, I don't necessarily like the salary floor, and is why because a team can make an offer to a player, and they could accept another offer from another team, right? So for me, that's kind of unfair to the teams, you know. However, I'm a huge fan of what the NBA does in the sense of like you have to qualify for a super max or a max like a contract, you know. So I think maybe to help with that, there's certain parameters you have to meet to get like a 10-year, $500 million deal. Just because I think there's so many players out there that are signing for that much money to where it's kind of messing like with that,
Yeah,
right? Like the NBA has a salary cap, but yet there's guys out there like the Celtics. You know, they got Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown making 45 to 50 mil a year, but that's because they qualified for it.
they also don't have a 26-man roster. That's the other part.
Exactly. So like, I think it'll divvy out, all the talent and make it kind of more competitive. But I just don't like the salary floor because it might screw some teams that just like they make an offer but they just don't sign. So how do they justify like, well,
Yeah.
we did make offers to these players for this much and they signed with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So is that our fault? No. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a salary cap is more
Yeah.
or would be better than a salary floor
Yeah.
because of those reasons.
All right. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I see the point with the salary floor. It'd be nice in baseball to have a salary cap. I don't know if that's. We'll see if it happens, but I think the MLBPA is, obviously very adamant about players earning with what they get, and that's not a bad thing at all. Frank, I mentioned this before, and Alex, I'm sure you know, back when A-Rod signed, initially had a handshake agreement with the Red Sox
Mm-hmm.
when he was on the Rangers, because the Rangers wanted to get rid of him. Um, A-Rod had like something like a $375 million deal at the time, and he was willing to sign with the Red Sox, I think, for something like 325, 320 million.
Mm-hmm.
And this was all good. Both parties were agreeing to it. A-Rod was ready to go to the Red Sox. The MLBPA struck it down because even though A-Rod was still going to make a shit ton of money, he was going to make something like 25, even 50 million less just to be on the Red Sox. And the MLBPA thought, no go, that's a bad precedent because we don't want these owners to take advantage of the players. Not that A-Rod was going to struggle by any means, obviously. I mean, all these guys make a ton of money. But I think you got to factor into how the LBPA is going to go into this. I think it kind of reminds me of the lockout we had a bit in 22,
Mm-hmm.
where it was obviously a compromise, but clearly, the owners were happy with it. The players still weren't happy with it. I don't think it's going to be like a 94 lockout. I hope not. I hope I'm
No,
very
not.
wrong.
No, not.
And it won't be. But it's still, I think it's going to be it's on the back of everybody's mind. Especially, we all love watching baseball, and I think it'd be a mistake for them to have a lockout when, we talked about the World Series viewership. Baseball's sort of having this sort of renaissance right now, where viewership is up. There's a lot more interest in the game. People finally know who some of these players are, who we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be a gigantic mistake if they were to do that. I mean, I didn't mean to go off topic there, but just in the potential lockout in general, horrible time to have one. You shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have one regardless. But I see your point on to the salary floor, but I think it's going to be very difficult to implement a salary cap considering just how much money they're going to make, how much money, some of these top stars are already making. And even though I think in some respects, I think you guys both agree that the free market right now is massively overflated just by how much money these guys are making. But anyway, that's my rant and a rant there, but that's how I view it.
But
No,
also, I think those. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that those teams that do already have those players under contract should get like grandfathered into what
yeah,
they already
I think
right
that
because
would
it's
be
like a
good.
new rule in place. They shouldn't be punished or penalized because of things that they did before a rule change or
Yeah.
does that make sense? Like a
Oh,
CBA
yeah, I
change,
agree. I think I mentioned
right?
this to Max
So
before as well,
yeah.
but so yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree though that this is just this. There cannot be a lockout, right? The game's as healthy as
Mhm.
it's been in a long time. Viewership numbers are trending up. Teams are getting more competitive. I mean, this year we're probably looking at how many teams would you say have absolutely zero chance of making the playoffs this year? We got
Pirates,
Pirates, Rockies. Oh, even the
A's,
Pirates, you
maybe
can maybe
even Athletics,
yeah. Even Athletics
maybe.
looked decent at times last year, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I
I
would
would
say Marlins, but the way that they ended it
no, the
last year,
Marlins
they were
look
I
on
good
agree.
though.
fire.
They could easily be an
So
80-something win team next year.
maybe even the Rockies. I know you're wearing that hat, but
Yeah,
Rockies and Pirates are the two that.
but yeah, but I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like every franchise, if they blink or they squint, can see themselves maybe making the playoffs. Now, obviously,
Mhm.
most teams won't, but it's still a possibility, right? But yeah, just do whatever it takes. No lockout. Yes to salary cap question mark to salary floor. I think that about sums it up.
Mhm.
But I think we can all agree also that we want teams to be spending to the capacity that they can spend, right?
Mhm.
Salary floor, not you can't have teams running like a $40 million salary for 2026. You know what I mean? So anyway, I figured we talk about some exciting Japanese players coming over this year. We'll start with Kazuma Okamoto, 29 years old, coming over from the Yomiuri Giants. Was part of that WBC winning Japanese lineup. I believe he hit sixth in that lineup in the championship game. I'll read you some of his statistics here. Let's just look at the last 5 years or so. 2022 hit 252, 30 homers, 82 RBIs. 2023, 278, 41 homers, 93 RBIs. 2024, 280, 27 homers, 83 RBI. And then this year, in sort of a shortened season due to injury, 77 games, but he hit 322, 15 homers, 51 RBI. Now, to me, this guy seems like the guy with the highest floor of the three coming over. The only thing about him is that he is 29 coming over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's at about his peak at the moment. Um, it's hard to say. Obviously, there's going to be an adjustment period. There is with everybody that comes over from either Korea or the Japanese league, wherever, right? Um, what kind of contract do you think this guy will get on the open market, and who do you think he inevitably ends up being with? And please don't say the Dodgers.
How old was Ichiro when he came over? Wasn't he
27.
like 29? He was
27.
27?
Yep.
Okay. Um, it's kind of hard because you get a guy like Masataka, right?
Mm.
Who he's been decent, but he's nothing to like. He's not all star caliber, but he did
Correct.
sign what a 5 year, $90 million contract at first, and people were pissed off. But I think he's played with that, despite all the injuries when he's been in the lineup for sure. But I think it's just so hard to evaluate these Japanese players because the game is so different over there. Like there's I don't know if it's him, but there's that one guy that's fighting like 0.95 or
And
point
that's what we're
zero
going to talk about next is
when
Murakami.
over right. So pitches over like 93 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the pitchers, like a Yamamoto, where their junk is just
Well,
phenomenal,
that's
right?
the thing, right? It's like
You know?
everybody's talking about how they're hitting XYZ against this pitch or that pitch,
Mm-hmm.
fastballs, etc. But you have to understand that every pitcher in Japan has like 5 pitches, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
you'd be hitting like that against fastballs too, but in the MLB you see fastballs like 50% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you get better at facing fastballs because that you're getting a steady diet of them. We saw it with Otani, right? Otani in 2025 or no, 2025 before he came over to the MLB, he had something like a 130 batting average against pitches above 93 or something like that, and he made the
Mm-hmm.
adjustment because he saw them more often, right? Seiya Suzuki, he's been great since he came over. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of guys that I think you could look at and say, the NPB is just not a fastball league like the MLB is, and whether or not they can make the adjustment is really what we're focusing on here. It's not that he is incapable of hitting fastballs. It's just that the way that you see fastballs in the NPB is much different, right? And the other thing, you're not seeing a whole lot of 93 plus stuff in the NPB, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes it look way faster. Like if you got a guy like Jamie Moyer up there carving guys up with his 87-mile-per-hour fastball. That's because he's throwing like low 70s and all his other stuff, right? It's about speed differentials.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's. I guess we'll move on to Murakami now just because we're talking about it. But I don't think it's an automatic death sentence to see a statistic like that. It's not an encouraging sign, don't get me wrong. But this guy's got more raw power in the market this summer or this offseason than probably anybody but Schwarber. And that's a proven fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll just look at his last few years in terms of homers, right? So 2022, that's the one that put him on the map. 56 homers, 130 RBIs. 31, 33, and then 24 in a shortened season, and 22 last year also in a shortened season, right? Now, his batting averages have been sort of going down a little bit, but you talk about raw power, and we saw some of that on show in the WBC as well. If you remember his
Mm-hmm.
massive homer in the semifinal, I think it was. This guy's just got a massive bat, and I don't think you can look at that in the context of him being the MPB and say he can't hit fastballs. I don't want my team anywhere near him. Now, do you go out and give him like an 8-year deal for $200+ million like Yamamoto got? Probably not. But I think he's worth an investment. I'd like the Red Sox to take a look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Phillies will probably take a run at him too, I'd imagine.
And the other team that
Yeah.
I want to say, but
What are your thoughts on what you know about him so far?
I know Murakami. I remember him really well in that 23 World Baseball Classic, winning that. So when I saw his performance, I couldn't wait till he's in the league. I can't wait till he's in the league now. I don't think Philly's going to get him. I think the team that just made the World Series that we're not going to talk about is probably going to get him.
Mhm.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for all these,
Yeah.
Japanese players, still coming in the league, showing dominance in the league that they're from, and just still ripping. I think, for example, we just mentioned Seiya Suzuki. I don't think a lot of people are talking about him too much. Sort of, they're definitely like a guy to have on your team.
Mm.
Anyone in the league would want Seiya Suzuki like on the team. So we'll see if like I said, I think when we talked, I think Frank last year we talked about sort of when Jung-Ho Lee first made the league
Mhm.
a year ago, and how his stats were crazy, but then you recognize like, hey, in the Korean baseball league, they have a shorter. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have a shorter distance to
Yeah.
home plate that they do in the big leagues, and
Mm.
so you get to see how they make that adjustment. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm just more looking forward to World Baseball Classic type than we'll see how they do it in the majors. But
Yeah.
definitely something to look forward to. And I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
people are talking about it.
Just a point of order relation.
So like we were talking about, Jung Ho Lee, just how, like as you said, how obviously the game's the same, but it's different in some ways. You made a great point earlier about how the Japanese league is, not too fastball heavy. They're much more, splitter heavy, much more curveball heavy, just more off speed heavy, anything.
Mm.
And the Korean Baseball League, well, we see, guys like Jung Ho Lee who hit like 40, 50 home runs in the Korean League. That's because, the fence there was like, they just have the short porch everywhere they go, I guess,
Mm.
from Yankee Stadium to the Korean League. But I think the best players, are able to work with what they're given. And I think we've seen that with Ichiro. We're seeing that with Shohei. I think to some extent we saw that with Hideki Matsui, because even though he was a Yankee, he was one of my favorite Yankees growing up. Also, one of my favorite Angels growing up, coincidentally. But
And A's. You play on the A's. Don't
Yeah.
forget that.
and he is, yeah, exactly. So, no, I think just it proves that MLB baseball can be it's probably definitely a challenge. And sometimes it can be more challenging in some of the other baseball leagues you see, but I think it just proves that we'll see how these guys break out. You don't want to. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my mind where guys who are huge in the Japanese are kind of in the Japanese league are kind of not the best in the big leagues, but. And I guess we're just gonna have to see how it goes, but that's how exciting it is.
Yeah. So moving on real quick, free agent class. I think largely considered to be a fairly weak free agent class by many people. There's not like a Juan Soto, Aaron Judge
Mhm.
type massive guy out there. Um, we're sort of talking about at the top of the market at least. You got Real Muto, Pete Alonso, Josh Naylor, Glaber Torres, Bo Bichette, Alex Bregman, Eugenio Suarez, Bellinger, maybe a little bit Grisham.
Is it
Um,
shorter?
yeah,
Yep.
Kyle Tucker and Schwarber, Dylan Cease, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, Michael King, Shota Imanaga now, Zach
Mm.
Gallen. But those are probably the biggest guys right now, right?
Mm.
Um, and then the rest of that is kind of mid-level talent, people that
Yeah.
probably aren't going to be changing the tides for any team really. But Alex, what are your initial thoughts when I read off that list of names?
For me, Pete Alonso is the guy that I want the Red Sox to also get. I will admit that. Um, I think he's the best free agent in this class. Uh, just raw power, right? Also think he's a fan favorite everywhere he goes. Like the Mets are the Mets, but I watch the Mets for him, right? He's a perennial all star, right? All star starter essentially almost every year. Um, just raw power. He's fairly decent at first base too. Like he's not a liability out there on the defensive side for the most part, right? So I think he's the guy that will get the most looks. And I don't think he re-signs with the Mets whatsoever. Like, I think he's completely done. The way their season ended and how he looked at the camera and they instantly asked, like, "Are
Mm,
you gonna opt out?" He was like, "Yes." Like,
yeah.
I've never seen a player like say yes like that fast to that type
Mm,
of question, right? Like he instantly just, oh yeah, mm-hmm,
yeah.
yes,
As a Phillies fan, I enjoyed that.
no, I
That's
know, but like,
Until he signs with the Atlanta Braves.
oh yeah,
Because
he's going now. He's back
Marcelo
on.
Ozuna is also a free agent, remember? So, I mean, they could bring in a
Yeah.
DH.
mm-hmm, but the pitchers like Cease, I think he's going like downhill.
Mm,
So I don't really see him getting the top of the market offer. Maybe 2 for 30, 2 for 40 at most. Uh, 20, 15, 20 AAV. I think Pete Alonso could definitely sign like an 8-year deal somewhere. He's what, 30, 31? Not even 30? Is he pushing
Pete
30? I
Alonso, I
know
think,
he's
is
like
31. Something like that.
31. Okay, so 7-year deal, right? 6-year. But,
Mm.
I could see him getting 30 to 40 AAV for a team that's
Well,
willing to pay that.
for me, the guy that I'm most interested to see what happens with is Framber Valdez.
Mm.
Because this is a guy that I thought was heading for top dollar on the open market as a high end two or somebody's ace,
Mm-hmm.
right? Until the incident with his catcher.
I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna bring
And then
that up. Yeah.
everything
Yep.
started to unravel. And everybody was like, all of a sudden, this guy's a clubhouse cancer. He's not someone you want on your team. Is this guy really worth it? I mean, there's a lot of things to unpack there, but I've always been someone that's been high on Framber Valdez. I, for
Mm-hmm.
one, always thought he'd be a Cy Young winner at some point in his career. Arguably could have been a few years ago, but yeah, I mean, what is his market at this point, really? Like, has it really not that been affected all that much by that incident? Has it been deeply affected? There's got to be a team out there that's like, we know what the talent is. This was a one-off situation born out of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But Max, what do you think about Framber Valdez right now?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up, what happened with him and his catcher. It was rookie catcher too, which was
Mm,
shocking to see a veteran like that who's been, in those clutch, positions, being one of the, more steady pitchers, in this decade, just, totally shut down like that. Especially with an Astros team that, as much as we hate to say it, we're still like possibly gonna make the postseason. So whenever you have a situation like that, I think that could impact the market. I mean, guys are, he's still gonna, you know, hopefully sign somewhere to a good team that has postseason potential, or if not, had made the postseason this year. But me personally, I think that kind of does affect the market because, especially from a GM perspective and a clubhouse perspective, yeah, the guy's been dealing, but whenever you just decide at one moment to just shut down like that, especially like in a playoff push, I think that's got to affect his market cap in a way. I don't know what you guys think.
But do you okay? So I know when that whole incident happened, he came out and was like, "No, that's not what it was." Do you believe
Yeah.
him? Or do you believe the rumors that like
I
it
don't.
actually?
I don't. I believe that he didn't want to hurt his catcher, but I 100% believe he wanted to send a message with that pitch. Like
Okay, fair. No, fair.
I
Fair.
think he was. I think he was trying to cross him up. I think he was trying to be like, we're throwing the pitches that I want to throw. I'm not listening to you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you've been my catcher a few times now, and I haven't performed well. And part of that is just because he wasn't good generally, but he seemed to be especially bad with this catcher for whatever reason. So I think Framber Valdez probably, in a bit of a toxic way, wanted to assert his veteran dominance over a rookie, and do pull like sort of a reverse Bull Durham, if you remember that scene from the movie where he's like fastball and takes him all the way deep, right, just to send a message to the rookie pitcher, right? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say. I don't think it'll be that big a deal, though. I think
I
teams are
don't
going to
think
look at his
so.
track record and say, yeah, this is a guy that we need in our team. So,
No,
yeah.
Marcelo Zuna has like
Yeah,
gotten
yeah, we'll talk about that.
way more money. Aroldis Chapman like way more money. for legal issues, not just like clubhouse issues. So I don't think it'll really affect him too bad. They might ask him about it within the meetings, but I don't. And that might kind of like decide
if
how
you're
much money he does get. Like if he's empathetic and like, I'm sorry I messed
if you're
up.
a team like the Mets right now and you need that ace pitcher,
sign him.
You're spending the money for Amber Valdez.
Even I was thinking the San Diego Padres too, because you just mentioned they need a true ace, right? However, San Diego Padres are they have a bunch of egos on that team, so maybe not adding. If he is a clubhouse cancer, he might not be the best fit there.
I also think that Manny Machado would not allow that to happen though, because Manny Machado is that clubhouse alpha.
But I hate that guy, so I don't trust him.
But anyway, we'll move on from Framber Valdez. Let's talk about the top of the market though, right now with Kyle Tucker. There's some question marks here in terms of maybe his durability. There's some question marks here. Maybe he just doesn't really have an elite tool. He's just sort of good everywhere, which I don't think is necessarily a down mark on him, but some people treat it as that. Is this a guy that you expect to make over $300 million in this offseason, or do you expect him to sign something maybe shorter term?
I'd say shorter, in my opinion.
Well, considering he's going to be 29 in January, I think.
Oh.
So
okay,
so he's a little bit older.
That might change things. However, he did have what was his back or wrist or something? What was it? Like he played with it, and that's why his numbers went down. And then they finally were like, "Nope, we're gonna pull you."
Yeah.
Right? It was some like weird thing, like hand or something, I think. But I mean, Kyle Tucker, even when he was on the Astros, I think he was an underrated superstar because he had to deal with Altuve, Springer, and all those type of guys, right? So. On the Cubs, he was like their guy. And then PCA happened, and then, but he could definitely be a leader of a team. He's, like you just said, he's turning 29. Yeah. So he's not even 30, He's still got some youth in him in a way, but he does have that veteran leadership presence who's played in the playoffs, who's played in the World Series, has won World Series rings. So a team that needs that veteran that has one, why not sign him?
This is sort of how I see him, right? If he's going to be your marquee guy, you're a team that's probably on the bubble to make a playoff spot, right?
Oh, Cubs.
Yeah, well, either you just miss out or you get knocked out in the divisional round or something like that, right? If he is a star player that is there to complement your other star players, you're a World Series team, right? And that's sort of where his market is for me, right? Like, is this going to be a team that wants to make a push towards winning a World Series, like maybe the Yankees or possibly the Giants,
Mariners?
Yeah, teams like that, right? Or is it going to be more of a team like, let's say the Mets, possibly? But you never know with the Mets, right? They could go all out and just go for bust here. It could be a team like the Orioles, even, if they want to shell out some big money. Because they have new ownership, and the new ownership, maybe you could argue, didn't really have their feet under them last summer, and this is the summer that they spend, right? So, I mean, there's a few different ways of looking at it. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Max, about what his market is at this point.
I think I agree with Alex. I think it's less than $300 million. I think he gets like $250, maybe $275, because he's still a solid player.
Yeah.
I mean,
how many
years? You guys know. Oh, that's a really good question.
5 to 7, in my opinion.
I was thinking that too. I think at maximum 7-year deal, but no, it's what we just mentioned. I still think we still have that Kyle Tucker from 24 when or 23, 24 when. Those guys went down, but Kyle Tucker stepped up and was the reason why the Astros made that big playoff push in 23 and 24. And, he was still fun. I mean, even though despite the injury, he was still a solid player on the Cubs. So I still think, and he's still got some good defense. He's still, definitely, one of the more top end guys in the free agent class. In terms of a team where he goes, I'm not quite sure. But I think wherever he goes, I think that team's definitely going to make a big playoff push because I think Kyle Tucker's been one of the more clutch guys we've seen in the past few years. So I think undoubtedly he's going to have a clutch. He's still going to have that clutch gene in him, and I think he's going to be one of the deciding players as to how X team went to the playoff push and made it to an ALCS or NLCS.
Really quick. So I'm going to go around the horn here. I'm going to ask you to give me one team you think is going to be a big buyer this offseason and one team you think is going to be a seller. We'll start with you, Max.
Buyer, I think the Red Sox. I think, I mean, this is the push. This is the time. I'm not, a big Red Sox fan, but, I am in Boston, so you can, feel the energy. Frank, you and I were at the game when Sadon hit that walk-off triple and they clinched the postseason for the first time in 4 years. And just the energy there felt like a playoff game. I think Red Sox Nation has been, waiting too long for them to make a serious playoff push. And I think you do need, veteran guys. You do need to make these big free agent signings. I thought it was a step in the right direction when they got Crochet and Bregman last year. I hope that was just the appetizer. I hope they get much more.
All right, Alex. Or actually, Max, really quick. Who do you think your seller is going to be?
Whew, that's a tough question. That's tough. I think any team in the any team?
Any team.
Any team? Hmm. I don't know. I kind of can make an argument for the Orioles. I kind of want to say, but I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean,
That's really tough.
Adley Rutschman's
For me,
name's
I
been sort
kind
of
of
floated around a little bit.
Yeah.
I think maybe the O's. I think they might take a step back. I just don't trust this ownership making the smart moves right now. I think when Orioles ownership didn't make at least some push for Corbin Burns last offseason when he signed that mega free agent deal to the Diamondbacks. I think that kind of sealed their fate in terms of just how they're going to approach these things. I think for me, just top of my head, the Orioles, I just don't see them making a big push. Then they should. Then they
I think
deserve.
that's a good one. It's a sneaky one. Alex, who are your buyer and your seller?
My buyer is Boston, but I don't necessarily think it's via free agency. I think it's via trade, right?
Give me that Joe
my
Ryan.
dream scenario.
I want that Joe
My
Ryan.
dream scenario is they sign Pete Alonso, and then they trade for Joe Ryan. That is my dream scenario, right? A buyer, I could actually see the Phillies being a buyer. Maybe they put in a guy like Tucker, re-sign Schwarber. There we go. Maybe that might be the push that they need.
That's like the last push, right? Before guys like Harper and Schwarber and all these guys leave. But yeah. And what about seller?
Seller, that's kind of tough because maybe. See, I was gonna say if you were to ask me this in July, I would have said Cleveland. But because they made the postseason and how they did it, I don't really see them being sellers. I kind of agree with Max with the Orioles, but I don't even think it's that big. I just think it'd be Adley moving somewhere.
Like a retool, more like.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's going to be a whole lot of sellers though. Maybe Minnesota.
Yeah.
Maybe they kind of sold though in the.
I mean, they still have some assets left, like.
So. I think Joe Ryan, if they are to sell, it'd be him for prospects. Maybe a guy like Tristan Cassis. Maybe. So maybe, but I don't even think there's really going to be sellers. I think it'll be guys just kind of moving pieces to get the push that they need. So I don't really see a team just unloading everything for this offseason.
Me, this offseason, buyer, Detroit Tigers.
I could see that. I could also see them trading Skubal, though, too.
Well, that's the thing. I think there's one of two ways that they could go, right? They could trade Skubal and basically admit that we're going to go into another soft rebuild, which they've been doing for the better part of a decade now, right? Which I just don't think they have the stomach for anymore, right? I think they're gonna put the money on the table for Skubal. I think they're gonna wise up and realize we can't keep lowballing this guy because he's the best pitcher we've had since Verlander. And we'd be fucking morons to let him walk for nothing.
Yep.
Right? And they have money to spend, even if they do put the money on the table for Skubal, right? They might try to go after a Bregman again, or they might try to go after a Tucker, or they might go pad out their starting rotation with like a Ranger Suarez or something like that, right?
Hmm.
I would not be surprised because they're a good young team that I think just needs another star, and especially on the hitting side of things. And if they can get a Tucker, they can get a Schwarber, they can get a maybe even a Bo Bichette, arguably.
Hmm.
Put him at second instead of Gleyber Torres, who's also a free agent, right? They could be a World Series team possibly, if especially if they maintain Skubal. My seller, and I think this is a low key one and a little bit disappointing, just because of I think some people were fairly high on them coming into last year, but it's gonna be the Washington Nationals. I think
Mm.
C.J. Abrams, years of control left. I don't think he's going to be part of the next good Nationals team. Same thing with Mackenzie Gore. These are
Hmm.
two guys that have multiple years of control left on their deal. They're still relatively cheap. They can make a contender a good team. And I
That's
think they could net you a fairly sizable haul of MLB ready players that they could sort of use to spread out amongst their roster rather than having five good guys and the rest are basically quadruple A guys, which is what they've been running out, right? So I could see the Nationals sort of downing tools with Gore and Abrams a little bit.
good.
There's no reality in which they trade James Wood to me.
No,
Um,
you can't.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Abrams and Gore, I would not all be surprised.
I would say one thing too is like I could see the Padres being both. They buy, but
Yeah,
they also sell.
well
Um,
that's what they do.
yeah. So I mean, I could see them trading a guy like Bogarts,
Yeah.
or getting rid of him somehow,
Mm.
signing a guy like Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
Maybe trading for Joe Ryan, trading
Mm.
for a guy like Skubal. So I mean, they definitely bought hard at the
Yeah.
trade deadline as well. So it'll be
No
interesting to see
doubt.
what they do. But they have some movable pieces that
Yeah.
they can definitely move to get better. So yeah.
Um, so you sort of alluded to it earlier though, Alex.
Hmm.
You wanted the Red Sox to get Joe Ryan and Pete Alonso.
Hmm.
Max, who's your dream signing for the Phillies at this point?
We kind of have a hole at third base. Alec Boehm I don't think, has that clutch gene in him. You know who does?
Bregman.
Is Bregman. I would love Bregman on the Phillies. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love Bregman on the Phillies. Just realistically, I think for the Phillies, I think we have the best shot at getting, I think, Schwarber to re-sign. I think
Yeah, I agree.
because even though there's been, obviously a lot of disappointment in Philly, they have been making the postseason consistently. And there's been times in 22 and 23
Hmm.
where they can make these deep playoff pushes.
Hmm.
And I think Schwarber has had some of his best years in Philly. So why ruin a good thing? He can, I think, re-sign in Philly. But for me, specifically for the Phillies, now you guys are talking about, Tucker and Schwarber. Would love that. I need a good bullpen. I just need two or three guys. I don't have any names for you, but I just need a
Edwin
good,
Diaz.
middle. Edwin Diaz would be.
King,
Edwin Diaz.
right? King as well. Isn't he a free agent?
Who?
Michael
Yeah,
King.
Michael
Michael
King. Yeah.
King. Mhm.
yeah. So I mean, especially like not just those guys, but definitely like more, middle inning guys. Let's say Ranger
Let's
gets.
look at
Let's say if
this.
Ranger gets something
We
back,
got.
but
Let's see here.
yeah.
You tell me if this is a guy that you'd like on your team, Max. Edwin
All
Diaz.
right.
Yeah.
No
That's
bias
tough.
with the Mets.
Robert
Well, I,
Suarez.
I know no bias with the Mets, but I think with Diaz, I think I don't know if he's going to be the same guy as he's going to be.
Hmm.
So I think I have to consider that a fact. I wish we signed Mason Miller. That would have been fun, but we
You,
got Joran Duran was also really
you
fun
know
too.
who would be a good sort of middle of the road guy that is sort of underrated would be maybe a Luke Weaver for
Mm.
Yeah,
you guys, because he's a free agent as well, or maybe even a Brad Keller if he can pitch like he did in Chicago last year. For me, with the Red Sox, um, Joe Ryan trading for Joe Ryan is like the top priority for me. Outside
Who
of
do you?
that, though, huh?
I gotta ask you. What do you think if the Red Sox were to? Do you think? Who do you think they get rid of?
For
Willier?
for
Casas? Like what?
I think
Like
going forward, the Red Sox are going to want to have Roman Anthony, Sadon, and Willier Abreu,
that's fair.
and they seem most intent on moving Duran, and I don't think that there's a trade to be done with Minnesota for Joe Ryan without including Duran.
I could see Tristan Cassis only if they get
Cassis could
penalized.
also be on the table. I don't
Only if they get
I
penalized.
don't think that you would trade both Duran and Cassis for someone like
I agree.
Duran who has 2 years left. It's probably
I agree.
it's either Cassis or Duran plus probably Jostinson Garcia and then maybe like Franklin Arias, something like that. Like a couple of good prospects. Um, maybe they might even ask for Peyton Tolley. If it was just Peyton Tolley and Duran, I would consider it. I would strongly consider it. If they were like Tolley, Duran, and then someone else in our top 10 prospects, I would say absolutely no chance.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it would be foolish to trade Conley early.
I
Um,
agree.
and Cassis, I could see going out to San Diego, who have a big hole at first base,
Mm-hmm.
and saying Cassis straight up for one of your bullpen arms, one of your elite bullpen arms, mind you, which they have a few. So I could that's sort of how I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, Joe Ryan is the first box to check. Also re-sign Alex Bregman. I think he's been
Yes,
invaluable both as a player and in the clubhouse.
I agree. I agree
And
with that.
then
And I think he liked playing in Boston in general. He loved it
yeah,
here.
Mm-hmm.
and then if I had to have one more sort of request, I would say um, maybe kick the tires on Hunter Green. To be
Yeah,
honest, to be honest, the Reds are going to ask for MLB ready players. Duran, Cassis, plus
maybe
Yostinson
Campbell.
Garcia.
What
Maybe
about
even
Christian?
Campbell. Yeah, I mean that's another
Mm-hmm.
option because it doesn't really seem like there's much of a place for him in the current big league roster. I think we should find a place for him,
Mm-hmm.
mind you. But he is in a fairly team friendly contract for the next 6 years, I think.
Uh,
That's something the Reds are gonna love. So if it was like Duran, Cassis, Campbell for Hunter Green, I'd strongly consider that.
that's a lot, though. That
It's a
is a
lot,
lot.
but
Yeah, but
Hunter Green is an elite pitcher, and you're gonna have to pay a lot for. You got to remember we emptied the farm for Crochet more or less last year. Mayer's market isn't where it was. Roman Anthony's not getting traded. We're gonna
I
want
don't
to
think
eat
Mayer gets
early.
traded anyway, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, if not Hunter Green though, I'd love to see us go for Lodolo. I mean,
Mm.
you know that I look at Lodolo as a mini Chris Sale just because of his arm slot, because of what he throws. I would love to see Nick Lodolo. I think that'd be a much more reasonable ask. Like, I think you could get Duran for Lodolo straight up.
Yeah,
Bearing in mind that Duran has, I think, 2 years left before he's a free agent.
yeah. Mm.
So, yeah, that's sort of where I look at it. But, all right, let's move on to the free talk section here. Is there anything you guys want to bring up before we finish? Any sort of
I think,
discussion points?
yeah, I think just for me, I'm just curious what you guys thought of like how the Mets ended their season. Just how even in July and August they were right up there with the Phillies in terms of the division, and then they lost the
Mm.
division by 11, 12 games. I'm just curious what you guys, what was the result of that, and what do the Mets need to do better?
I mean, pitching, have their pitching stay
Yeah.
healthy. That's the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at how beat up their rotation was down the stretch, McGill,
Mm.
uh, I mean, yeah, I mean McGill's especially big lock. I'm a big fan of Tyler McGill.
Mm.
Um, but I mean they just didn't have a healthy rotation the whole year. It felt like so. Yeah, I mean, but that being said, even last year it seemed like emotions were the main thing that they ran on. Right? I they have some consistency in that team now with Juan Soto, but it's hard for me to buy into a guy like Brett Beatty or Mark
Mhm.
Vientos, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil. Like, are these really World Series caliber players? Not really. And these guys are getting. I mean, Francisco Alvarez, which breaks my heart because I think he's great. They've completely fucked up his swing. Right. I mean, they talked him out of his approach initially. Then he went to JD Martinez and completely rebuilt his swing, and it was shit. Then he got injured, and then they rebuilt his swing again, and then he was okay for a bit, and then he got hurt, and then it looked like he fucked up his swing again. Maybe it was because he was hurt. And it's just like the Mets haven't developed a super great hitting prospect in a while. So I mean, it's hard to see where they go next with that. But I don't know. Yeah, that's sort of where I am with the Mets.
It's I don't really know. They live in the shadow of the pinstripes of New York, right? Like they're essentially the Jets of baseball. They're the equivalent, like the Giants are the Yankees, right? The Jets are the Mets.
Yeah.
And they're just going to have to, I think they're kind of in that awkward thing too, where are they going to buy or are they going to sell?
Yeah.
And who are they going to buy? Maybe Kyle Tucker, but does he make them really that much better?
No, they probably go after someone like Cease, if anything. I would think.
I agree. Right. I think they rebuild their pitching more than I see them rebuilding their offense in the
It'll be strange too if they lose both Helsley and Edwin Diaz in one offseason.
They have to get at least one guy back, one of those two, and if they don't, sell.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, I agree. Anything else you guys want to bring up?
I mean, for me, I think their downfall was equally as bad as the Tigers was.
Yeah.
That last month.
Yeah. I mean,
like
the Tigers just barely got away with it too.
Yeah, they were lucky, and the Mets had the same kind of unluckiness happen, but they just didn't make the playoffs. They were more unlucky. Yeah. Tigers were lucky, in that aspect, right? I guess, are there any surprise trades that you guys could see happening, and who?
We sort of touched on a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Mackenzie Gore, Adley Rutschman.
Well, Adley Rutschman, he's been in trade talks already, so that's not really
a super big surprise. The guy that I sort of think of when I think of surprise trades, and I don't know if it's a surprise really, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Cincinnati Reds traded Hunter Green, like I was sort of mentioning before. Mm-hmm. Just because they have so much work to do on offense.
Yeah.
And they do have a fairly solid rotation even outside of Hunter Green.
Mm-hmm.
They can't really rely on him being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are teams that are sort of enamored with him, and I think he could, if the trade is handled properly, could turn them into a contender for at least the NL Central.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that. Also, equally, I would not be surprised if nothing happened with them.
Yeah. I agree with that. Max, do you have anyone that you think? Not really.
You know, that's really tough for me. I haven't really thought of it before.
Christopher Sanchez.
If that happens, I
Noah, Zach Wheeler, Bryce Harper.
Actually, you bring up Bryce Harper. I heard some. I honestly would not be. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be like, Rafi going to San Francisco surprised, because I think just how
that's a counter I've ever seen one right there.
That is a counter, because at the time I was pissed, but in the long run I was like, you know what? That actually helped. All right.
Yeah. Well, I will say with Harper though, I think just how I don't know if you guys saw Dombrowski's comments in the offseason about Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper was kind of stung by that.
Yeah, Max, do you want to tell Alex what he said?
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, so I don't recall exactly where Frankie might know about it, but from my understanding,
basically word for word, Dombrowski says, "I don't know if Harper can be an elite player again."
I don't really think he's still. I mean, I don't really think he's not elite.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. It's like this is why it's sort of an incendiary thing to say if I'm Dombrowski, because it's like he's still a good player. Like it's not like he's completely fallen off a cliff.
Yeah, maybe he's gone down, but not by like a concerning amount.
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, you don't piss off a guy like that.
I remember the hype around him too.
Yeah.
Like I remember him in high school hitting 500-foot, 600-foot bombs. Like what
So
the
is
heck?
Blaze Jordan, to be fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, but the thing with Harper, though, I definitely think that probably uh, like a fire under him, I guess, if that makes sense. Because I agree with Frank. That, yeah, I mean, Bryce Harper is not. I don't think he's going to win an MVP award ever again, in my opinion. But this is a guy who, I mean, I see it. I mean, you can see in the postseason. I think ever since that, when we choked against the Diamondbacks, he just has not been the same player. I don't think he has the same. It just seems like night and day with him. And so I wouldn't be too shocked if, at some point Bryce Harper's like, hey, I've been giving everything to this, city and this team. And, he got Dave Dombrowski saying these things like that. It could be a little situation there. I don't think it's going to be,
It is worth
I might be
considering,
looking too much into it.
though, considering how young he was when he first started. He's played a lot of baseball for a guy his age.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we're seeing sort of a Pujols-esque pre-decline in the fact that, like, because he started so young, his decline is earlier than a lot of people maybe thought numerically, but in terms of the number of seasons he's played, it kind of makes sense, But maybe I'm reading too much into that.
He's kind of like Trout in that aspect.
Yeah.
He's still great, but just he's not.
I mean, you start playing when you're 19. Most players start playing when they're like 23, 24.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players of all time too. Bryce Harper, just the passion he plays with. I was actually at that Giants game when he like yelled at that fan.
Oh yeah,
remember that sliding in?
I was at the Durant game.
I was at that game. Yeah, I didn't hear it, but I heard him like look at the fan and like say something. But I wasn't even like I was too far away to like truly understand what was going on at that time. But yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Oh yeah, just a quick question, Alex. I think you kind of have a little bit of experience with it too this season. How was the Sacramento A's like environment there? What was that like?
Yeah, it was. So I went to opening day, right? So it was Cubs, A's, and that was when oh gosh, Carson Kelly hit for the cycle. Cubs won 18-3. It was at that game. It felt. I know you guys haven't been to spring training yet, but it felt like I was at spring training games. Like spring training games, the whole outfield was just you sit there on the grass with a blanket, kids running around. That's what the outfield was at A's game. I think 15, 20,000 fans, all packed super close. So getting out the parking lot was a mess. Getting in the parking lot was a mess. More organized than you would anticipate, though. It definitely didn't feel like your average like professional baseball game in the aspect of like the fans, the environment.
Look forward to.
Like, yeah, I was definitely like I'm a heckler, like I like to talk my trash, but I definitely was like I can't because they'll actually like hear me. Like
it's not just for entertaining the people around you. It's like
it's they'll actually hear me. You could like hear what the players were saying in the dugout. Like it was very spring training like. Kind of weird, but it'll be something cool to like. Yeah, I was at the first time like the Las Vegas A's played in Sacramento. I was at that game.
See, that's gonna be a trivia question in a few years.
It will be, yeah. They really didn't have much Sacramento A's stuff. Do I have the hat lying around here somewhere? They gave out this cool little hat that there's like this bridge. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like a golden bridge.
Yeah.
That's in Sacramento.
It's like on their
they had like this hat that said athletics on it. But when I try to get like a Sacramento A's shirt just for like, the future for 40 years, that sits in the closet for memories.
Like
they didn't have anything in Sacramento.
Yeah. So they're doing it next year though. They got it.
That's really gonna have to go back. But ticket prices were super expensive. Like
for the A's,
really expensive. I think it was $200+.
Jesus.
And keep in mind, my mom's a Cubs fan too. My brother's an A's fan. So like it was like worth it because it's not every day we get to see the Cubs versus the A's. But yeah, like I remember trying to go to another just random game, and I was like, I'm not paying like this much for this game. But that's what made Oakland so great was you could buy a ticket for $8, and security did not care if you sat wherever you wanted. Like the Coliseum, man, people were bringing weed in and smoking their joints like in the third deck, and no one cared. Like you just knew at Oakland you were going to have a fun time, whether you were there to see the A's or another team. You just knew that it was just going to be great vibes. No one cared. It was a shithole, yes, but that's what the beauty of it was.
Like, they called it, they called it the baseball's last dive bar. I mean, it was definitely like a experience there, from what I heard.
Dude, I remember on like Wednesdays, because Dallas Braden he's from the same area code as me, section 209, which is like my area code, had like I think it was $29 tickets or something in honor of like the 209. So they did so many things to just bring fans in. That was super cool. Definitely a different environment there in Sacramento, but kind of cool too, in a way, like super cool. There's also, Soderstrom, who I'm super high on because he's from my hometown.
I love me some Soderstrom.
Right. So, I mean, he's from my hometown, so I got that personal connection to him in that way. Our dads went to high school together. They were good buddies. And then they got Max Muncy, who went to high school with my cousin down in SoCal, and in my mom's home from my mom's hometown. Yeah, the younger one.
Yeah.
They actually have the same birthday too.
That's crazy.
What? They both got drafted in the same round.
That reminds me. Do you remember those two minor leaguers that were like the orange beard and the glasses that
had the same name and all that?
Yeah, exactly. That was a weird one.
Yeah, no relation, didn't know each other existed, and they looked like twins. But yeah, definitely. I'm trying to go back for next year though to get a Sacramento.
I'd love to fly out and see a game before they leave Sacramento, just to say that I did it.
No, I get it. I mean, Sacramento is an underrated city. I would move to Sacramento. Not necessarily like in Sacramento itself, but the surrounding areas are super nice too. It's like an hour and a half away from Tahoe. Not sure how far it is from San Fran, but yeah, like Sacramento is an underrated city. I do know that I think the mayor or the previous mayor, I don't know, said something that they're trying to make this a way to prove to the MLB that they can actually get an MLB team because they do have the River Cats, who are the AAA of the Giants. So it was actually cool because they were able to play both the River Cats and A's games there.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it was.
Well, you have potential expansion coming up, right? And one team is almost definitely going to be in Nashville. And why not Sacramento for the National League team, right? I mean, if one team's moving California, it kind of makes sense to balance it back out, right? So
they have land to do it out there, I think. I just don't know if the market though would be good for it. That's the only thing. Because we were selling out of I think A's game sold out, but it was only 15,000. It's not like.
Would you say the demographics were baseball fan wise before the A's moved there in Sacramento? Do you think they're mostly A's fans, mostly Dodgers fans, mostly Giants fans?
So I'm from Northern California, where it's Giants and A's. I mean, we get a fair share of Dodgers, Padres too. No one's really an Angels fan, even in California. I gotta admit that. I don't really meet too many Angels fans out here.
The Angels strike me as similar to the White Sox, where it's if you're not from the immediate area of the stadium, you're probably not a fan of that team.
No, I agree. I agree with that. But yeah, definitely it's a lot of Giants fans. I know my brother's an A's fan. He says once they move to Vegas, he's going to become either a Cubs or a Phillies fan. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he says.
He doesn't want the heartbreak. He doesn't want the heartbreak of being a Phillies fan.
He's an A's fan. He's used to the heartbreak. He's used to all his favorite players being traded at the deadline. He's used to the endless amount of.
Too, so,
So yeah, I mean, at this point, he's used to it. he's an Eagles fan too, so he's like, you know what? As long as they're good, I'm happy. He's a Nuggets fan. He's like, we got Jokic, I don't care. He's like, the A's, whatever, I don't care. But definitely, it's a lot of Giants fans. A's when they were in Oakland, when they were good at least. They had like Grant Balfour, all those guys, Kurt Suzuki, Jack Cuss, Nick Swisher, like those were fun times in Oakland for sure.
Big Billy
and
Boomer.
I remember going country breakfast.
Yeah,
just going to A's games in Oakland. Great times with my dad, who's unfortunately passed away it'll be 10 years in a couple weeks. So just memories. But because Giants tickets are so expensive. The A's are always just so cheap and nice and so convenient to get to. They have like a subway. It's called BART. Literally dropped you off right outside of the stadium. You walk over this little bridge, you're already there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had to drive like an hour to the BART station. Literally, 45-minute BART ride. Literally drops you off right there. You just walk right over the bridge. You are there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of like ballparks, I went to I got a buddy who actually lives in Denver, so kind of where the Rockies at, because I went to Coors Field. I saw a couple of games there, both against the Mets, which were sick. It was awesome there. Coors Field is really cool. It's a really, I think, underrated ballpark because the fountain's really neat. When you're up there, like on like the purple section, because that's like literally a mile high up. Because you could see like a great view of the Rockies up there, and the food was great. One thing that was really cool that the Rockies have before the game, like up to 30 minutes before first pitch, you can get $3 beers, which for me was like really awesome. But it was so sick. The food there was
so do the 999?
I did not do the
999. Max knows I did that at a Fisher Cats game.
Yeah, I have not done that yet. I'll try it.
I think I'm going to DC and Baltimore for this summer to knock two more off of my list.
I actually that's funny you should mention that because that's literally what I just did last August.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say Camden Yards, one of my favorite ballparks I've ever been to personally. Super awesome. I mean, there's like a courtyard area behind the left field bleachers. Basically, it's like a bunch of vendors, but they're just sort of standing there. You can just go up, grab like 3 beers, and just go to your seat before first pitch. It's not super fancy, but it's a nice park. They've sort of taken over the big warehouse on Utah Street, right? And so that's sort of like a fan area, and then you got the gift shop and everything like that. And it's also like just a nice ballpark to look at, honestly. So I highly recommend Camden Yards. Nationals Park, there were some things I liked about it. Ultimately, I feel like there wasn't really any sort of vibe to it, if that makes sense. It's sort of more or less in the middle of the city, and you don't really see the ballpark until you're in it, if that makes sense. Because it almost sort of looks like a parking garage from at least from the street that I entered on. The ballpark inside itself is honestly not bad. I sat like 4th row up in left field. Really nice view. You can get tickets fairly cheaply. And then I also went to Yankee Stadium on my way back up. That sucked.
I went to the old one. I haven't been to the new one.
The new one to me is like this to me is what is the epitome of being a Yankees fan is, right? You're sitting watching the game, and you can kind of see like it has the piping at the top, and it has the flags, it has the jumbotron, and all that. And you're like, okay, I guess this kind of looks like Yankee Stadium. But if you're actually walking around in the bowels of it, you're just like this could easily be like a gulag. It's just fucking concrete, and there's very little decoration, and concessions were very quick and efficient. I'll give them that. But it just felt like if you weren't actually watching the game and you were like walking around the inside, it just didn't feel like there were plenty of parts where you could walk like 100 yards and not know what stadium you're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like if you go to Fenway, you know you're at Fenway. You know, you go to Wrigley, you know you're at Wrigley. It's all these places, right? I just feel like the Yankee Stadium was a bit generic in a lot of ways. But
Mm.
those are my
I went there.
stadiums.
I went there before too. Old Yankee Stadium. I was like 6 months old, so I don't think that counts. But new Yankee Stadium was there a few years ago. It was the second game of the year. Red Sox Yankees. Wore my Red Sox hat. 11-year-old flipped me off. A whole section called me
Hell
asshole.
yeah.
That was fun. I kind of just was like, yeah, I'm the fucking villain here. So that felt
Keep me
cool.
at Fenway all day long. That's
It's
Yeah,
all
but I will
good.
say beer prices were not fun at Yankee Stadium. We got two like Bud Lights there, 25 each, and I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back to this section.
Mm.
And the train ride was kind of fun, but when the Red Sox lose after a Yankees game, and I'm the only guy on the train who has a Red Sox hat on, I was in fear of my life. But other than that, it was kind of bucket list item. There were some parts in the stadium where I agree it was kind of nice. It was pretty cool.
it was really
And
cool.
Lion Park
When I
was
went to
cool.
see the Yankees, they were doing like an
Mhm.
old timers game, and it was like Pettit and
Oh,
Posada
yeah.
and Bernie Williams and all those guys were there, and I got to see those Jambi. So that was really cool. I saw Mariano Rivera blow out his Achilles in the outfield. Um, so that was an interesting time. That sort of made me feel pretty good about it. But then I got absolutely roasted in the bleachers, and like there's no back support there. It's literally just bleachers where
Yeah.
I'm sitting, and I was just like
Mhm.
after the fourth inning, I was like I need to stand up and walk around because my back was killing me. Like
Yeah.
it was.
I will say I went to Yankee the year it closed, so 2009. I was 12, maybe not even 12 yet. So I was 11 turning 12. They weren't even playing the Red Sox, and 12-year-old me decided to be funny to wear all my Red Sox gear.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I was standing up talking all my smack. Like, they ain't going to touch me because I'm 12. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Was I wrong? No one physically touched, try to fight me. I got stat, and I learned some new words on that trip, so I had a lot of fun.
Sure.
My parents were really stressed out because I'd stand up and be like, fuck
Hey,
the
gotta
Yankees.
rep your set.
Exactly. So,
But,
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I definitely want to go to Red Sox Yankees at Fenway because I know me, I would definitely get beat up if I was to go to Yankees.
Man,
That's a fun
I went to
That's
the
a really
second
fun
to last game of Rafael Devers this year when they were playing the Yankees.
Okay, I went to a second game as a Giant.
Yeah,
Or
there you
whatever.
go. So,
Giants fans, I will say, are not nice. They are a-holes.
I get that impression. I'll be honest. Like,
dude,
I've heard a lot of stories of like players
Yeah.
going at Giants fans to the point where I'm like,
Mhm.
do we have a problem here? Is this like?
yeah, like, I go to, I'm on the West Coast, so anytime the Red Sox are in town, I try my best to, go because it rarely happens. Usually I'm greeted with, oh, whatever, you're not our rival. Giants fans were like, fuck you. And I was like, we play you guys, once every, at first it was, once every 4 years.
Yeah.
So,
That's
what did I do to you? And then, I am a loud mouth and obnoxious and cheers, so, I kind of deserve some of it. But, yeah, they're not nice. I don't know if you saw that Mookie Betts podcast where they asked them, who the worst fans are. And without a doubt, they both are, Giants.
And it's crazy that he said that, too, because two Yankees fans literally tried to rip his fucking arm off in the World Series.
Yeah.
And he's still saying the Giants. That should tell you something.
I think it's because everyone expects, Yankees fans to kind of be dicks and a-holes. Because, San Francisco is very inclusive, right?
Yeah, but they're all assholes.
Yeah. I went, dude, and I was like, I've never felt this way at a Giants game before.
Equal opportunity dickheads.
Yeah. It was yeah. Even walking out the stadium, because I had to walk, a mile to the, train. Still, people were even homeless dudes were like, fuck you, dude. And I was like, the fuck? All right, I'm not giving you $1 now, bro. Leave.
But
So, yeah.
anyway, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap up for us there. So, yeah, episode 1, The Baseball Fam, Rousing Success. And I will have this video up on YouTube, possibly on Spotify if I could figure out how to extract the audio. We'll see. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're tuning in, and feel free to subscribe, like, and comment. So yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's go Sox.
Yeah.
Go Phils.